Hello everyone, it is Stuart again, and this video is for one of the about two people who had concerns in the comment section on the previous episode of the grading system we had, and one of them was asking me how many marks does a learner, you call them marks, yet these days we call them scores, so we don't call them marks. So he was asking that how many scores does the learner need to have, for example, to have an A, to have a B, to have a C, to have a D, or to have a E. And I am not going to answer it direct, but by the time I finish this video, it will have already answered itself. So I decided to compare the old curriculum and the new curriculum against the grades we are talking about. And this is what I'm going to say. You remember those days you would have, for example, in comparison to these ones, I would say if you had a D1 and a D2, then there you will qualify to have an A. So, in other words, a corresponding grade in the new curriculum, which is A, in the old curriculum, that is the learner who would get a D1 or a D2. And in this new curriculum, for the learner to get an A, those are the learners which we call genius. I don't know the genius of the word. I think they include the Newton, the Einstein, Albert Einstein, yes. Those ones who are the genius. So in this level, we have the genius runners. Those runners who are able to get the competences, but they're also able to use the knowledge to solve a problem innovatively. So that's what one of the things I'm going to talk about at the end. And then we have these kind of runners who would have C3 and the C4s. These are the runners who would come in this grade. They are not genius. They're a bit of a genius, but they are very, very, very intelligent. These are the kind of runners who are scoring a B in the new grading system. But in the old curriculum, these are the runners who would be in this range. I am not going to talk about the marks because UNEB has never come up with a system and say that if you score 30, you get this one. So I am going to use these ones. We compare so that we are able to understand. Then we have these runners, the C5, the C6. Now, remember, and these are the C's. These are the runners. Sometimes when you get a credit 6, you are like, oh, you just run around and celebrate and you have passed. However, we also have these three. Actually, these ones, whenever you get like a credit 6, and then maybe at the university, those are the runners who would get a 50, and they run and get a chindazi and a coke and they sip because they have just escaped. And then you have these runners who actually get pass 7 and pass 8. It's just a pass, as it is said, as a pass. You have narrowly escaped. And usually, whenever you would got a pass in that subject, you would actually say you have passed, but in actual sense, people would see you as a failure, but you have passed. So these are the runners who would actually get a D. And that's why we are saying basic. You have just gotten the minimum requirement. Like, among the things we could consider, we used to call it a kagua. Like you are at the other extreme end when the rope was at the end, then that's where you have passed from. Then we have these runners who used to get F9, and those are the runners who are in the elementary. So this is how I can compare. I know you are seeing, you are wondering now which marks are in this, which marks are in this, but we don't have marks in the new curriculum. We only use scores. So we used to have marks. I'm using same marker. Here we used to have marks, but here runners get scores. Okay, so this one I will leave it out until you come out one day and say until you have 100 you cannot get exception, which is A. And this one brings back this concept of results, because on our past slips you either have any of these, either result 1, result 2, result 3, or result 4. But they are as simple as this. In result 1, it means that you have passed and you qualify to get the UCE certificate. In other words, you have at least obtained a D, which we said is a basic, the minimum requirement. You have just attained a D in any of the subjects which can be graded. But once you have not gotten any of these, you are not able. So this you have gotten here upwards. Now that is the runner in result 1, and all learners who actually got certificates, they have result 1. When you have result 2, you have actually not qualified for a certificate. Reasons: 1, you could find that your marks for your scores for the project were not uploaded, or you missed a compulsory subject. In other words, if you are supposed to sit for 8, which is the minimum subjects, you have not reached there. Maybe you sat for 7, so you get result 2, and you also do not get certificate. And then result 3, these are the people I was talking about. If a learner has not gotten at least a D in any of the subjects he or she has sat for, they are not qualifying for a certificate. Because if, for example, a learner has E for all the 8 subjects, this learner means in all subjects he has not been able to attain the minimum competence level that is needed for them to progress. And then lastly, we have result 4. If the learner did not do exams, gets result 4, and does not get a certificate. So lastly, there is someone who asked the question that, so you mean UNEB and the ministry and the Curriculum Development Center just change the grading system instead of skills? In this new curriculum, we do not only change the grade, but we also looked at the skills. All this assessment I'm talking about, it looks at the very critical skills. For example, the innovation. How innovative is the learner, for example, in A? How innovative? It means that this learner is excellently, is onomana ya sukuruma in transferring knowledge innovatively to solve the problems in the society. So that's why we are looking at innovation. We look at the ability of this learner to communicate, which is the communication. It is a skill, which is one of the things we are not looking at in the old curriculum. We are only looking at how much does the learner know. But this time we are looking at how much is the learner able to apply the knowledge they have. How are they able to apply it? Then we look at also critical skills. We look at very many problem solving skills. How able is the learner to solve a problem? So we are looking at skills. So they did not change only the grading system, but also they look at those skills. Otherwise, I thank you very much. We'll meet in another episode when we are going to be talking about other things as we go in order. Otherwise, thank you very much. And any questions, drop them in the comment section. Ask, clarify, and where you have confusion, also bring it out. Thank you very much.